Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode we pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on VOD. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, and we battle it out to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time, according to two film geeks from Wiltshire, England. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a review and subscribe. Hello, Podsters. We're back after our week break. I know you've been missing us and been on tender hooks to get a new episode.
I think they were enjoying the peace and quiet.
Don't be silly. They wanted more.
They love us. They love us.
This week on the Film vs. Film podcast, as Black Widow hits cinemas worldwide and on Disney+. I don't know why you'd want to watch it on Disney+, but there we go. Definitely go to the cinema to see it, as hopefully we will at some point. So, You already know who stars in that film, I suspect. It is Scarlett Johansson is the Black Widow, so we'll be having a look at Scarlett Johansson films for this week. As ever, I am joined by the Mr. Encyclopedia Man. That is Mr. Boaz Dix. How are you, sir? After a week off?
I'm fine, Mr. Martin Harries. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Yeah.
Good.
Well, you do most of the work, so, this is whatever.
All right.
It's taking a break from taking a break. Yeah.
Right. Shall we do my film first? Or, yeah?
Let's do this.
I did take a bit of thinking time with this one. I was considering picking Under the Skin. I kind of wanted to avoid Marvel a little bit because I suspect you would want to pick one.
I suggested Under the Skin.
Yeah, but I avoided it mainly because I was like, I picked like A Field in England before, and that's a really weird film. I picked some other weird stuff as well, so I didn't want to be the guy like, oh, Martin just picks all the weird shit.
Yeah.
So
because you asked me what I said, and I said, yeah, maybe Under the Skin, and you were like, are you sure you don't want to do a Marvel one? And I was like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. You second guessed me, otherwise, But I think it's good to link it somehow to the project she's currently doing.
I mean, had you seen Under the Skin?
No.
It is very weird as shit, so, But it's brilliant.
Yeah, I saw some really freaky clips, and I was like, I gotta watch that film.
But it's one of those, like, give it a few years before you rewatch it for me. But
yeah.
So ultimately I went with Lost in Translation from 2003 with Bill Murray. And I'd seen it years and years ago, and I've always been wanting to revisit this film. I just never got round to it, so I was like, well, this is the perfect time to revisit Lost in Translation. So what happens in Lost in Translation? Well, Bill Murray plays Bob Harris, a kind of like a fading Hollywood actor who goes on a job in Japan. He does like an advertising shoot for a whiskey, specifically for the Japanese audience. He is kind of has a very like needy relationship with his wife. Always kind of wants to know what carpets she wants to have in his office or whatever. Just kind of very needy. So not an easy relationship with his wife. And there's another character, Scarlett, played by Scarlett Johansson, who's very young in this. I think she must be still a teenager or early 20s or something like that, who's with her husband, who is doing a photo shoot, and they are staying in the same hotel, and they're both kind of like a bit lost in their lives at the time. And in this film, they kind of meet and just rediscover like life, really, and like the happiness and joys of life and exploring the unknown in somewhere like Japan. So it's one of those kind of like hangout films where like not a lot happens. There's not like any specific plot or anything. It's just kind of like, how do these two very different characters interact and go from there, really. This one's directed by Sofia Coppola. I really liked it. What did you think about this one, Boaz?
Yeah, I really liked it as well.
So directing then, I think the direction has a very like observational feel to it from the main character's perspective of Japan. You know, this film is not afraid to take its time to immerse the audience into the culture of Japan, I would say.
I think it kind of gives like there are quite some interesting design choices, you know, some directorial choices. Like number one, I like how it's kind of quite exaggerated how different Japanese culture it is from how you know stuff is quite strange, and you know, and yeah, the people are just not on the same wavelength as the characters. They do a lot of you know, shots, especially when they're kind of on their own, which seems to be a lot of the time before they meet each other. It's just these wide shots of them just like, you know, they're surrounded by like nothing or
Japaneseness.
yeah, or Japaneseness. Yeah, I think you get this real sense of like loneliness like throughout the film.
Definitely,
just, you know, these spaces and just these silences as well.
Because like there's one little sequence where Bill Murray is like just taking a golf shot and completely alone, and there's just a giant mountain in the background. You know, it just feels just so out of touch of like what the rest of what we've just seen throughout the rest of the film, you know, which has been quite busy, and you know, it's just so dead quiet. So that was kind of interesting, that bit, and it just adds to this very like foreign perspective that these characters go through. Interesting first shot, though. What I assume is Scarlett Johansson's butt.
yeah.
Interesting
Best
choice.
Opening shot in any movie. But
some of the gags in this are really well done from Sofia Coppola. There's a great visual gag with Bill Murray brilliantly set up, where at the start of the photo shoot scene, it starts with him being shot from behind on the phone to his agent, and you see all these clips on the back of his jacket to keep it tight. And then for the rest of the scene, he's shot from the photographer's perspective. And the next scene, Scarlett Johansson's character, they're in the bar in the hotel. Charlotte, she buys him a drink from across the room, and Bill Murray walks away from the seat, and you see the clips still on his jacket, which is quite well done. You know, with everything that's going on with the photographer, you kind of forget that they were there. You know, it's just quite a funny, simple gag, really.
Like when he's giving the photo shoot and the guy is asking him to like act differently.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, that was funny. Like 007, you know, so Roger Moore, more like Roger. And he's just pretending to do all these poses and what have you. I really like the scene. I think this was very early in it, where he's given direction on how to, you know, drink the whiskey.
Oh, yeah.
The director is really angry. You know, he's quite, you know, no, you're getting it wrong, da-da-da. But he's speaking in Japanese, and he says like this huge paragraph of stuff. And then the translator says, he wants you to turn right into the camera.
Is that all he said, really?
Did he say all? Is that all he said? And then he does that, and then the guy goes off on one and says, like, again, another couple of paragraphs. He goes, more intensity.
Slower, but with more intensity, yeah. And then Murray does this, like, really slow and intense. As intense as you would do it as possible without making it look stupid. You know, it does that really well. Because any slower, it would just be stupid, you know. And then at the end, the director just like, cut! And Bill Murray's face is priceless, where his eyebrows just drop, and he's like, seriously? I can't go any slower. Any other directing choices you liked, shots-wise?
I liked when, you know, they were getting on and going to places and clubbing and partying and... running away from gunmen and all kinds of weird shit like that. Like
that was strange.
That was strange. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that was about.
It's just a BB gun, I guess.
yeah, that was fun.
Have you got a favourite shot?
Probably when he's getting the, you know, direction at the beginning. I think that was like my favourite scene. Him on that talk show.
Oh yeah,
that was quite funny. Where the guy shows him his dance. What the hell was that about?
Yeah, it's a bit strange. Well, for us anyway.
Yeah,
for Japanese people, not so much, I guess. My favourite shot is there's a great panning shot where the camera is outside the window and you can see the streetlights reflecting in the window, but you can still see them like in the apartment. They're both of them like on the bed, I think, and it just looks really nice. You know, they're all in focus, but you still have all the streetlights reflected in the window. That was just quite a nice panning shot there. Yeah, it's just really nice.
I think actually, like, some of my favourite shots in retrospect are like ones where Bill Murray or Scarlett Johansson are just kind of on their own.
Oh, right.
Do you know what I mean? I think, to me, just because you get the sense of their loneliness there.
Yeah.
So it's more of an emotional impact from those sort of shots. Like, whether he's just like laying in bed, just looks like he's, wants to give up,
Yeah. So, score, Boaz, what are you going for directing?
Like 7.6.
I think Sofia Coppola does a great job, really, of establishing this loneliness feel for both of these characters. Not just like out on the street, but certainly in the hotel as well. You get a real sense of that and of their struggles. But again, as the film progresses, as their relationship progresses, it's really nicely paced, and as I said, I quite admire the fact that it's not a fast-paced film at all. Sophia was not afraid to slow the pace down and keep it fairly slow, and it does feel like kind of a hangout film as well. So, I mean, I love watching hangout films where you just don't have to concentrate very much, and you just let the film like soak over you, kind of thing. Like Call Me by Your Name, which we've talked about in our LBGTQ episode. That's kind of a hangout film as well. Again, like very simple camera work. There's nothing too advanced to it, really. But again, I think if you keep it simple, then you don't really need to do anything else with the camera to make this film work like really well. So yeah, I'll give it a solid 8, I think. Screenplay. I think what makes these characters so watchable together is the fact that you have Charlotte, who is at the beginning of her life still deciding what she wants to do, and Bob Harris is a fading movie star in like a stale marriage, and Japan makes them become on like the same pedestal, experiencing this very different culture, on the same level, which I quite liked how they did that. It was quite impressive how they just almost stumble upon each other, and they have very different life experience, and they just get on, From all these other characters that are in their lives, it's just becoming noise. Scarlett Johansson's friends and her boyfriend are a little annoying. They're very chatty and loud.
Yeah.
And with Bill Murray, his wife is always sending him faxes and a load of carpet samples. I'm just like, why the hell are you sending me? If I was sent that, I was like, well, I'm on a job. Let me just see it when I come back.
Yeah. I think she only does that because they don't really have a relationship, him and his wife. I think he does want to talk to her and what have you, but they've got nothing to talk about. So, I think she's just trying to move the conversation with like mundane stuff. Yeah. Like, I've got to, we could do this to that house.
Yeah.
But, because you could even say, like, when he phones her up and is talking about, like, wants to talk about the kids and talk about, like, oh, maybe we should start eating Japanese food or what have you. It's just like the conversation just kind of devolves into, like, I'm quite busy here. I'll call you back, Yeah, I'm busy with the kids. So.
The calls certainly don't last very long at all.
No, because I just don't think they've got much to say to each other at all. You can tell that's just, like, quite hard for him. He's just got nothing in common with his wife.
Yeah. I mean, there are certainly a lot of occasions where this film is hilarious. There's one bit where Bill Murray is with Charlotte in the strip club, and she asks
I was going to mention the strip club.
She asks him, oh, where's Charlie and those guys? And he says, they're taking a dance class. And then when they walk out, he says, oh, thank you to the upside down stripper. Which is quite funny. Well, there's quite a few occasions when Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson talk to Japanese people, and they just don't understand what they're saying. And those moments must be like unscripted and improvised on occasion, I would say. And I like the one with Bill Murray where he's talking to a small guy in the hospital, and the guy is trying to explain something to Murray's character, and Murray just copies his actions, and the guy just laughs at him. It's quite funny and charming. There's a moment where Charlotte says to Bob, when they're just hanging out, oh, let's never come here again because it would never be as much fun. And it's just like this unlikely friendship just wouldn't work or happen anywhere else, So they're just kind of trying to have as much fun as they can while they can, I love the moment when Bob is being driven to the airport and he sees Charlotte walking down the street, and he goes after her, and they embrace, and he tells her something in her ear, but we don't hear what was said, like right at the end. And I love the fact that that remains private, and then after that he's like walking backwards, still looking at her for the last time, and he's the happiest he's ever been in the whole film, you know. And Scarlett Johansson's really great in that moment as well, you know, that she's just so happy to have met Bob in her life. What did you think about that last moment when he whispers something in her ear?
It's quite an interesting choice to not have the audience actually hear what the hell it is. I suppose that it can then just be speculated on for many years to come.
Because certainly leading up to this point, the audience has been quite close to these characters, alone and together, you know. So it's quite an interesting choice. I would think it was something very meaningful between these characters, and it's just really interesting that we don't hear it, and it's just for them, you know. And I think maybe because it's not very plot heavy at all, you don't necessarily need to hear what they say, because I think if you do hear what's said, you know, this really meaningful moment for these characters, then the audience would create a lot of judgment about what he said or whatever, or, you know, like, oh, that was, he could have said something else or whatever. It's just, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's just a nice moment for them to have together, you know, and it just creates wonder for the audience of like, oh, I do wonder what they said. And obviously she reacts, you know, in a really endearing way, I guess. It's just quite a really lovely moment there.
Yeah, especially because, you know, when they were saying like goodbye to each other the first time, because he kind of wanted to say something to her, let her know on the phone that she had his coat, and they meet outside the hotel, but they don't even say anything, they just look at each other.
Yeah.
And he gets a chance to kind of write that, but you don't. Yeah, it's something he's obviously wanted to say for a while.
Yeah. Have you got a favourite line then? Mine is probably from the weirdest massage I'd ever see. Lick my stockings! No, lick my stockings! Like, what? You want me to what?
lip your stocking. Lip, you know, it's like rip. My... Yeah, that was funny.
That was so strange.
I love how he touches her stocking. She falls on the floor. Oh, Mr. Harris.
You ripped my stocking. Oh my god. That was so weird.
Yeah, that was funny.
And hilarious.
That was weird.
Who sent him a hooker? I don't know. It's weird. Like it's a normal thing.
Yeah, maybe just at the beginning. I think that was a really good, you know, the one I've already said, you know, where the translator says like a bunch of crap, you know. Like the director says loads and loads of stuff to him, and it's just translated as like one.
Cut.
More intensity.
So, score then for screenplay by Ange?
Yeah, it was quite enjoyable. Maybe like a 7.8.
Yeah, again, I would say like the directing, the screenplay is fairly simple. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of this stuff is kind of improvised as well, especially with the Japanese people. So, you kind of just take the story from there, maybe. And I expect a lot of the writing is just about, like, these characters, or, like, who these people are, and then, I guess, workshopped a little, trying to experiment how these characters would interact and what would happen. You know, they probably would have developed the script from there. But, again, like, it is simple and it's a hangout film, but it is hilarious as well. Certainly the scenes with Bill Murray. So I'll go like an 8.2, I think. Right, acting then. What you got for me, Mr. Encyclopedia Man?
Bill Murray, I think, was great, you know. He definitely does have... He's perfected the what the fuck is going on face. You know. Just
Rip
like...
my stocking!
General confusion. Yeah.
You want me to what?
Yeah.
I mean, he's really funny as well, but there's lots of great subtle stuff from Bill Murray here, which I really enjoyed. I like the little piece of acting near the beginning from Bill Murray where he's trying to have a quiet drink and a cigar in the bar in the hotel, and these two fans recognize him, and he politely, you know, answers some of the questions about his movies.
Yeah.
And then just casually just walks away without saying anything.
Yeah.
Just because he wants to be alone. And because he's a movie star, he can just get away with it. By just leaving the table without saying anything. And it's kind of mirrored later on, actually, when Charlotte is with her friends in the same bar in the hotel, with her husband and friends, and they're all talking like so much and quickly, and she's just like nodding and then just looks away, and then just all of a sudden just walks off to see Bill Murray,
Do you remember the scene? I thought that was some good stuff, like when he kind of gets drunk and sleeps with the singer that's at the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But you could tell he's quite ashamed of it, and she's at the door, Scarlett Johansson, and he's like, "Yeah, I can't come right now," and then she overhears that, the woman,
yeah,
and it's like, "Oh, all right, I see you're busy." The kind of look, the way it's said, it's like just quite a disappointment in him. Just like,
it's quite an interesting moment in their relationship, really, because obviously this relationship is not a sexual relationship at all. It's just friendship, and I guess for Charlotte, seeing Bob like that, it's just, I guess, her respect for him kind of lowers a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think they soon get over it really quite quickly, and I guess she becomes fairly understanding. So.
Yeah, because they go to a sushi thing, and so that was still fresh. So and the sushi thing is quite awkward. They're not really talking. But yeah, they quickly get over it, and then they're like, "Yeah, that sushi was stupid, wasn't it? What the hell was that about?" Yeah.
And like the menu, literally the pictures are all the same.
Yeah, exactly the same.
And he was like, "I'll have that one, please." But there's a lot of like little great comic acting moments from Bill Murray where he can't extend the shower head high enough so he can take a shower. So he has to take a shower at neck height, which is just funny, where he watches one of his movies overdubbed in Japanese and he's just completely stoned face, the dubbing is just done, as you said, like really quickly. There's so much language going through the film, and it just doesn't match his lips properly. Yeah. And he's just there, stoned faced, like,
Yeah, that's fun.
But I think one of my funniest bits is when he's stuck on the running machine. Is hilarious.
Yeah.
He's just shouting, "Help! Help me!"
Yeah, and he's got like a limp the next day going into it.
Which is funny. Yeah, and he just jumps off it,
Yeah.
And it's still going. But what I did find annoying, I think intentionally annoying, is Anna Faris's character is really annoying.
Yeah, I think she's meant to be incredibly irritating.
Just for the way she butchers the classic Bond song, "Nobody Does It Better," it's just shameful. I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? There's a lot of karaoke in this.
Charlotte's trying not to laugh as they walk, by her performance.
Oh, yeah. They just try and walk like really naturally.
Yeah.
Around the corner.
She's trying to crack up, and she's trying to stop herself from cracking up.
But there's a brilliantly sad moment from Bill Murray where he has like a sweet goodbye with Charlotte, and then he's, this is just before the end, when she gets into the elevator, and then he's asked to take a picture with some people, and he keeps looking at Charlotte, and then the camera, Charlotte, and the camera as she's walking away into the elevator. I thought that was quite a good moment for Bill Murray there, of just in that simple piece of acting of like how much she means to him in this moment, that he goes home the next day and it's just like, oh, I don't want to leave this girl.
Yeah. Well, I think they do have a scene where he's like questioning whether he should leave, and she doesn't think he should, but he's got to. I think also Scarlett Johansson with her like boyfriend. I like that where he's just nattering away about his stuff, and she's like, what do you think of this scarf or something like that? And he's like,
it's fine.
I don't know, whatever, But it's like, I just kind of felt that sort of distance, as
kind of very similar to Bill Murray's character, but Bill Murray is like is the boyfriend, but just in the wrong way, Bill Murray just would like to talk to his children more and just connect in a more natural way with his wife and not talk about other things concerning their house. Yeah. Whereas with Charlotte and her boyfriend,
he's just completely about his job, all the time.
Yeah. And Charlotte just wants her boyfriend to have just some interest in her.
In fact, he's more interested in the in the crazy blonde girl, like
Anna Faris's character.
Yeah. Even though, like, she's just kind of ridiculous and irritating and not very bright. I think that irritates her.
Well, it would anyone, to be honest.
Like, surely you could connect with me better than this person. Like,
So have you got a favourite performance then?
Bill Murray.
Yeah, I think I would edge it towards Bill Murray as well. I think only purely for the fact that I think he does most of the, certainly most of the comic acting. And he certainly does most of the emotional heavy lifting as well, I think. I don't think it's no offence to Scarlett Johansson. I just think Bill Murray's character is a lot better, maybe. Yeah, there's more to work with in his character. And, you know, with Scarlett's character, Charlotte, she kind of fits a purpose for the story and for how this relationship develops. But not to say Scarlett Johansson is bad in this film. She's really good. She does have some really good emotional moments. But when you look back at this film, you remember the moments from Bill Murray, not Scarlett Johansson.
This film is essentially a two-actor sort of, you know. Yeah. It is just both of their film, like 90% of the time. You know, these characters are quite lonely, you know. It's really about them. But, yeah, Bill Murray is more the focus. And, again, he's kind of the guy that provides the punchline for a lot of, you know, the jokes. So, you know, it's hard not to gravitate. I would say he is slightly more the main character than she is, so, you know. And
to be fair, like, this is very early on in Scarlett Johansson's career, so, you know, it's 2003. Whereas now, who's the biggest star? I would, you know, Scarlett Johansson for me is probably the biggest star now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll go Bill Murray as well. Acting score, about as what are you going for?
8.4.
I would say that's pretty respectable, to be fair. I think Bill Murray, again, as we've probably spoken about this on the podcast before, but like comic acting, I would say is harder than anything else to do, to get that timing right.
I think Bill Murray is just like, he's the master of timing, and this film is funny, but some of that humour is so subtle that I don't think it could work if you don't have someone like Bill Murray. I think Bill Murray, he could make reading the phone book amazing, you know. He's just, there's something about him, just the way he says things, you know.
Yeah, so I'll go like 8.6, I think.
I also think he can do lonely pretty well, actually. He looks
definitely
quite lonely, like world haggard.
I think they both can, to be honest. I thought they were both really good.
Yeah, no, I think she's very good as well.
Just that scene where he's just looking at his own film is just great in terms of that.
Yeah. Actually, another scene that's quite nice, because we haven't mentioned many of those scenes together, but where she's just, like, talking to him about life. You know, she doesn't really know what to do with her life, and, you know, will it get easier, or will you kind of figure things out when you're his age? I like that interaction, that more heartfelt, you know, examination of where they are right now.
Because I guess he's kind of like looking back in his own life in that way a little bit, of maybe seeing his own mistakes in her a little bit, and you know, things like that. Right, let's add up the scores then for Lost in Translation. So Lost in Translation gets 48.6. Not bad at all. So, Mr. Encyclopedia Man, what is your film for Scarlett Johansson films?
All right, now let's get away from this mushy crap and let's get to killing stuff and superheroes and capes. I've taken Captain America the Winter Soldier.
Nice.
Not to be confused with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which we've also reviewed. Although Falcon is in this.
Yes. Yeah. Falcon's first outing. Why did you pick this one?
Because it's really good. I thought I was going to go with something else, Scarlett Johansson-y. I think in retrospect I probably should have, mainly because I don't see this as a Scarlett Johansson film. And I fear like I'm doing a little bit of a disservice because I'm not going to be talking about her as much. Had I picked a film that she was like the main star in.
I do think this is Black Widow's best appearance in a Marvel film, I would say, other than maybe Endgame.
I would agree with that, and I think she's really good, and the character has a lot to do. But it's still not her film though, is it? You know,
but she's very important to this story, I would say.
Yeah.
So what happens in Captain America: The Winter Soldier?
The basic plot is Captain America works with S.H.I.E.L.D., headed by Nick Fury, and S.H.I.E.L.D. is developing these helicarriers that can, like, kill people from 100 million miles away or whatever.
Eliminate threats before they happen.
Yeah, eliminate threats before they happen, It can target accurately people, anywhere, They basically stumble upon like a conspiracy that S.H.I.E.L.D. has actually been taken over by Hydra, the bad guys from the first Captain America film. Captain America becomes a fugitive of the law.
It was very much described as a political thriller style movie.
Yeah, I would kind of think of, like Enemy of the State. It's like the superhero enemy of the state, that's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah, like 3 Days of the Condor or Parallax View, that kind of type of thing.
Yeah. And I kind of like it where if you're going to pick any character, superhero, Marvel character, to be like a fugitive from the government, uncovering a government conspiracy. Like Captain America to me is the most ironic to do it, He kind of... You just imagine he's like a Boy Scout, he's a patriot, he'd just do whatever, he'll bend over if the government tells him to, but... here he is taking on the government. I think that's quite interesting. His
morality, whatever time period he's in, doesn't waver,
Yeah.
Which I find the most interesting part of this story, that it's up to the others to get to his level, of morality to defeat Hydra, really.
Yeah.
Because obviously when this film came out, this was huge and seismic for the MCU. The fact that, we've literally just been introduced to S.H.I.E.L.D. it's been teased throughout a few of them, and then you obviously get on the inside of S.H.I.E.L.D. in Avengers, and then literally when you get to this film, S.H.I.E.L.D. is exposed as Hydra, and S.H.I.E.L.D. is just gone from then. It's like, oh, okay, that lasted long. Not.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to like shaking up the status quo, it was a pretty big deal.
Right, let's get straight into directing then. What did you make of the Russos' first directional MCU movie then?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Just really well shot. Just the action is just intense. I think if you kind of compare it to... I think a lot of the previous choreography from, before this film, I think there's a kind of post-Winter Soldier sort of choreography style. I love how Captain America fights in this compared to how he fought in the first one or the Avengers. Definitely. I think it's a definite step up. You can see why he's a super soldier. It's like, holy crap, man, you just took out a room of, 10 guys, but it looks...
Yeah, definitely.
It's not boring,
Because Captain America First Avenger... It's a great film, but action-wise, it's quite poor, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, that might sound harsh to some people, but as an action film, purely as an action film, it's not great at all. No. Whereas this is, the Russos said themselves, this has got more action than probably the first Avengers movie.
Yeah,
it's pretty insane. And I love the opening fight on the ship. Captain America immediately feels more powerful and more skilled compared to the first Avenger and Avengers, where you feel like in Avengers, Black Widow could take out Captain America.
Yeah.
But certainly not in this film.
No, yeah. In the previous film, you given the whole, he's the first Avenger and he's a really big deal, he's a super soldier. But I just never got the sense, of that. In this film, he's just quite amazing. Just, the way he moves, you're like, Jesus Christ, I think just the action is just lot better choreographed. It's not even just for Captain America, but the supporting characters. They have some just incredible action set pieces where just a lot is going on. I think that's what you have to make action just really exciting. They do something, the character does something to counter it, something else happens. It just, it's got to get really crazy. Like with Nick Fury, his attack on the, when he gets attacked with his car. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah.
That was really cool, and
And I love the kinetic handheld camera work, which makes the action more brutal. Plus, you feel like the Russos have really thought about how Cap can use the shield. On the ship near the end, like the jumpy throw he does with the shield, takes out a guy, and then while it's in the air, he takes out a few other guys before he catches the shield again. It's really creative. But I think the only gripe I would have in that opening action scene is when Cap throws a knife in one of the goons' hands. It feels like there's too much sound effect on it, and it feels like the knife is in the air way too long. That feels natural. if you know what I mean.
I think I see what you mean.
It just felt like the distance was too short for that amount of sound effects. But that's only a very small thing, which I certainly noticed on my first viewing when I first saw it. But yeah, they certainly have a very, shaky cam, handheld style, and not winging it, because obviously it's very planned out, everything. But it just feels like a very spontaneous camera, like like these people are experiencing this for the first time, you know.
I would say, like, especially, his fight with the Winter Soldier, like, under the underpass and stuff like that. Yeah, that's very frenetic. The camera's just like, what the... trying to get everything. But it's great just because of how much intensity is in the action.
But the car chase you mentioned, that was awesome with Nick Fury. I remember them saying, the Russos were like, going into this car chase, they were telling Kevin Feige, we want to make the best car chase ever made. That was the level of directing they wanted to go into. That was the mentality, and I love how they still commit to this handheld style in the car chase, because they could have easily just put the camera on vehicles with these nice techno cranes, etc., to make everything smooth in a chase like this. But no, the cameras are very close to the ground. There's lots of sharp movements, but you never feel lost in the action at all. You know the geography quite well, I felt. And the intensity's never lost. And some of the crashes are really impressive. And the machine gun popping up from the cup holders was really cool.
Yeah. You remember his window had like 1% armor or whatever. They were kicking it down. And I like when the machine gun comes out. It's like, it won't hold much longer. Now! Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
The only gripe I have at the end of that scene, though, when he escapes, is that he somehow burns through solid tarmac with like a little flamethrower thing.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that feels a little far-fetched to me. But,
yeah.
Because it doesn't feel like there was a manhole cover there or anything.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. Like, what if he was just lucky? I mean, you don't see any traces of a manhole cover, so I suppose he must have just... They could have done that, at least put a little...
I mean, that is one hell of a blowtorch or whatever.
I know. You should have just attacked him with it. Don't cut through the ground. Fucking cut the Winter Soldier's head off,
It would have been a shorter film,
yeah.
to be fair.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? Like about Black Widow and stuff. I do like how, because she's not got any superpowers, so it's more about like her ability with espionage and spying and kind
tech.
of tech and all that. I like how they kind of utilize that in fights. So like when she's running under the underpass and then the Winter Soldier's kind of waiting for her, and I like how she notices via shadow and stops running. And then he's like, what the hell's going on? And she manages to like surprise him and get a shot off in his glass. That was really cool. Or trick him that she was like behind a car or something. So he threw a grenade, but that was like a pre-recorded message.
It just makes the character just feel like really intelligent, not just a whimsical action girl,
Yeah.
But that whole bridge fight was really cool, just really impressive. Steve, Natasha, and Sam versus the Winter Soldier. Just that whole thing was really cool. And just like little things I noticed in that sequence was just so cool. There's like a nice wide shot with a load of the Winter Soldier's goons are just firing at them, but the Winter Soldier is just casually walking with his giant grenade launcher, letting his guys do all the work, not firing his weapon. And then the fact that there's a guy with a minigun and that Cap moves his shield to take out, deflects the bullets and takes out a load of guys. That was really cool.
Yeah,
but we'll just ignore the fact that he could have just shot his legs. But it's still really cool.
Yeah, I think there's so much like inventive action, and I do like that it doesn't try to let that up, because there's quite a lot of action scenes, but there is always something you can find where you're like, oh, that's interesting. Rather than, this is just a fill-in action scene that, we don't have to choreograph too much. This is a fiddler-in one.
It's pretty violent, this film, as well, because, as I said, there's a huge minigun, and, like, the Winter Soldier just, like, fires a rocket at Steve at the shield, and he just goes flying. That's how he gets off the bridge,
Yeah. Well, I would say, you talk about violent, you remember where part of S.H.I.E.L.D. have, like, allied with Captain America, and they're bringing out jets, and the Winter Soldier just comes in there and kills all the crew.
Oh yeah, that was
and
insane.
he grabs a guy and throws him in the fucking propellers or something like that. It's like bang, you know. You're like, yeah, that's it's pretty great.
He takes out like 3 helicarriers in like 5 seconds or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the elevator fight. That was some impressive acting and directing.
Yeah.
You know.
I like the build up because just with the camera work, it's just like it just conveys. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to make it too obvious that Cap knows what the hell's going on here, and we all know what's going on here, even though the actions are just some guys taking an elevator. That this sudden thing should be a surprise, but I just like the build up. It's like he's in an elevator with a few people. They're looking kind of nervous. More people get on. They're also looking kind of nervous. It's very suspicious. One guy is like sweating. He's like really sweating. And you just have Captain America look at him like what the hell? It's just you're putting this together. What are you sweating about? And then I like just before we get started, anybody want to get off? Like he knows.
Get out.
He absolutely knows.
I love it when like the last 3 guys come in and. And they say, where they want to go on the elevator, and the guy says records, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Why can't you just say the gym? That would be more convincing. Why would the strike team go to records?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the toughest guys, and
And I love the overhead shot when he's taking them all out, and he flips the shield and catches the shield. It's just really awesome, that overhead shot.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Any other action moments that you liked?
Oh man, there's just so many cool ones. Him diving out of the bloody elevator, that was cool.
I don't think that's far-fetched, I don't think, like the Fury thing. That is believable for me that he could do that. That the shield could absorb a lot of that.
Oh, impact. Yeah, no, I believe that. I mean, that's the point of, like, the vibranium, getting into lore and stuff. But it's meant to absorb kinetic energy, right? So, I mean... Yeah, if he fell out of a high thing, it won't transfer that impact through him. It will just like absorb it. So he should be fine, like lore-wise. And it was just pretty cool, and it looked like it hurt. So it's not like taking the piss. He didn't just.
It's like, he does a nice.
Yeah, it's like God, that's a bad idea. Other action bits that I thought were amazing, and probably one of my favorite shots is where. What's his face grabs the shield for the first time.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah, the Winter Soldier. Yeah, I thought that was badass. Cool, yeah. The film in my head is just synonymous with that shot. That shot is synonymous with the film. It's like him just boom, just grabbing it and just like what.
I mean, I love that all that stuff leading up to that moment where after Fury gets shot and Caps goes after him. It's just really cool again where the filmmakers show off Cap's super strength, where he's just literally just running through walls with a shield, and there's a great musical cue with an electric guitar just before he jumps through a building into the next one. And it happens again before the first punch in the elevator fight, this like nice guitar cue, which I thought was really cool.
The fight that he has with him at the end, that was pretty brutal. Like, especially like he breaks his arm. Because he won't let go of the damn disc, and he doesn't want to kill him or what have you, but he just breaks his arm.
Got to do something there.
Yeah, and then Bucky shoots him. That was crazy. That was like that was a lot of suspense. I was like, oh no, he's gonna die.
Yeah, but to be fair, there's never for one moment I thought Captain America was going to die.
He's not going to die, obviously, but it was really cool. Yeah.
But I do like it in films where the hero has literally gone through the ringer and. Yeah. Like in the Mission Impossible Fallout, Tom Cruise ends up on a hospital bed, and same with Captain America in this as well. Like they've really gone through hell and back. In this story,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like films where it's like, the character has given their all, and like they've suffered the most they could possibly suffer. It's great. So you're like, okay, this was not just like another Wednesday.
So have you got a favourite shot then?
I've said it. Winter Soldier catching the shield.
Oh, yeah. Mine is Winter Soldier related as well, where he flips Fury's car and he casually just moves to the side.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty cool.
It was really cool in that nice wide shot. He just moves out of the way one step as the car goes by.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I just really like the Winter Soldier in this film. He's just so casual and just oozes coolness, you know.
Yeah. I think another cool shot is like them on the walkway facing each other, you know, just before they're going to crack off.
Oh yeah.
I like that because it's like, you know, this is the setup, this is the outline, this is where we're going to fight, this is the field of battle, and just staring each other down and then going for it.
Yeah, I like that shot where the camera, before the Winter Soldier is revealed, he kind of stops and then the camera's directly behind Captain America and then it just moves off to the side to reveal Bucky. You know, that was quite a nice shot there as well. This is really impressive, and I feel like this is the first film where we feel like Captain America is a proper, powerful superhero. It certainly has a very different style, and I think it really does work. And I think that the Russos direct action brilliantly, really, really well. And I think they've really given a lot of thought to how these characters fight. You know, there's been a lot of thought in that. So, and the political thriller stuff works as well to a certain extent. Yeah, I'll give the directing like an 8.6. How about you, sir?
I'm in 100% agreement with you. I think I'm going to give it a really high one as well. I'll give it an 8.7.
I must say as well that I don't think this is my favourite Captain America film. I think...
What, Civil War?
Yeah, mine is Civil War.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think Civil War is an amazing film.
I would say maybe my Civil War is like my favourite MCU film, full stop, as well.
It is a really good film. I think those two films kind of go quite well together. You know, you can just even watch them back to back. I do love Civil War. I think I would agree. It's also one of my favourite MCU films. And even though it's more Captain America thing and it's got Captain America, I always kind of treat it as a like quasi Avengers film. Because it really is.
Yeah.
You know, where this is a Captain America film. Civil War is basically, I think it's them, before, you know, the Russos had a chance to do, you know, Avengers 3 and 4, it's like them testing the waters to see if they could do an Avengers film.
Yeah, definitely.
It feels more like an Avengers film to me, but yeah.
Especially, you know, the airport scene.
Yeah, the airport.
Scene, yeah. Yes, they didn't do an action scene in a hotel.
Yeah, not that I can remember.
Not during Lost in Translation.
Yeah.
Right, screenplay then, Mr. Encyclopedia Man. Yeah, this does some really clever things with the screenplay, I think. It's interesting how they re-establish Cap's morality in this film, in this new modern world he's experiencing. Because he's talking to Nick Fury, you know, in the hangar bay, and he's showing him the new heli characters, and he ends by saying, like, we needed a quantum surge in threat analysis. For once, we're ahead of the curve. We're way ahead of the curve. And then Cap says, by holding a gun to everyone on Earth and calling it protection. And he just feels like using fear to protect people doesn't sit well with Cap. And he's kind of seen this before in World War II.
Yeah.
You know, and for Fury, he's like, well, the world has changed so much and S.H.I.E.L.D. has to change with it. And it's just an interesting element of distrust between Cap and Fury as well. And Black Widow as well, to a certain extent. Like, because, you know, Fury and Black Widow are in this world of espionage. They have to lie for their job, you know, and just Cap can't do that.
I like what he said where he was like, because he's questioning it, you know, he's like, you know, you've got a gun to everybody, this isn't peace. And Captain America goes, you know, no, Nick Fury says something like, well, hold on there, like, greatest generation, you did some bloody, you know, questionable things in World War II and stuff. He goes, yeah, we made compromises, but that was for freedom. Like, this is fear, you know? Like, yeah. Like, this isn't a victory, really.
You know, and I thought the punishment came after the crime and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They certainly re-established Cap's morality of black and white, good versus evil, very clearly, which I think was clever to establish. I like the little moment when Natasha and Steve find the secret bunker, and she notices the portraits on the wall of Howard Stark and Peggy, and Natasha asks, oh, who's the girl? You know, and Steve just ignores her and just walks away. And it just reminded me of the scene at the end of Endgame when Sam asks about his wife, but says, no, you know, that's just for me. I'm glad in Endgame that they actually stay consistent with the fact that Steve keeps his relationship with Peggy private, you know.
Yeah.
It just makes that scene better.
Yeah. I think a lot of the humour lands pretty well as well. So, you know, it's got to have seriousness and humour. But, you know, so not everybody is like a Captain America may be a Boy Scout, but he's not a humorless like old fossil or whatever. You know, he's having fun, like when there are good times to have fun.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Don't say
on your left.
On your left. Yeah. I like that. Yeah, I like that. And yeah, I thought that was a funny scene.
I love Scarlett Johansson's entrance as Natasha Romanoff when she rolls up in a sports car and says, "Hey fellas, either one of you know where the Smithsonian is? I'm here to pick up a fossil."
Yeah, that was funny. I like the whole, even when he goes to assault the ship, and it's like, like he's too busy to ask for dates and stuff.
Yeah.
And the guys...
Their banter is so cool, in the middle of action scenes.
Yeah. And I like just that the other guys are like, did he wear a parachute? It's like, nope.
Yeah. What else is there? Oh, when Fury's in the car chase and the car is like really quite battered up, and they do mention that he tries to make it fly. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I didn't even. I only noticed that on the rewatch today. Like he asked whether it can fly. I was like, hang on a minute, what? You know?
And he says, "Well, what's not damaged?" And air conditioning is fully operational.
Yeah, that was funny.
Which is important. You got to keep cool in a high tense car chase. You can't be hot.
I think I think Samuel Jackson is always cool. He doesn't need any help being cool.
Yeah, no help needed by air conditioning.
No. Where she turns on Armin Zola and says, like, "Do you want to play a game?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's trying to explain it's from a movie. It's like, yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, War Games. It's from. That tie looks really expensive. I'd hate to mess it up. Yeah. From Sam. But I think my favourite line, actually, is near the end, when Sam jumps out of the building. One of the carriers is literally crashing into it, and he jumps out of the building, and Fury catches him in the helicopter, and he says, 41st floor, 41st! And then Fury says, it's not like they put the floor numbers on the outside of the building. Well, that was great. I would just like to go back to, Natasha's arc in this film. And especially her relationship with Steve. In the beginning, Steve doesn't fully trust her because she has her own mission in the boat, and Cap didn't know about it, and which kind of annoys him. But with Natasha, it's just like, well, that's just my job, I'm a spy. But then, Natasha teases him about being old. Was that your first kiss since 1945? In the scene in the car where they're talking about that Natasha lies to survive. And she asks him, what do you want me to be? And Steve just says, how about a friend? And Natasha says, well, you're in the wrong business, Rogers. But then when she learns that Hydra is basically S.H.I.E.L.D. in disguise, her whole ethos has been undermined and kind of completely breaks apart. And, she says she's just traded in the KGB for Hydra. And there's quite a nice touching moment in Sam's apartment when she says to see Steve, if it was the other way around and it was down to me to save your life, now be honest with me, would you trust me to do it? And Steve says, I would now. And it's like Natasha it's like she's on the same moral level now with Steve. She's got a proper, you know what I mean, just on Steve's moral level.
Yeah.
Which I really liked how they work that into the script for Natasha's arc,
Yeah, I also think Nick Fury is quite a father figure to her. And I like even the acting. I'll mention it there as well. But how she is really distraught, very distraught that when she thinks he dies.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that was amazing.
I like the conspiracy thriller, political thriller, style of this film. But by the end, it just feels a little bit too convenient for me that Fury has these 3 computer chips. That happen to target each other to save the day. I think that's my only real gripe with the story, and they certainly focus more on the action and the emotion between Cap and Bucky. I don't know. What do you feel about that? Is it too convenient? It felt a bit convenient for me, but
yeah, I suppose so. Although, I guess he's been pretending to be dead for a while. I don't know, maybe not that long actually. Maybe a day or two. While they've been fighting Hydra, so I don't know.
So have you got a favourite line then?
On your left? I don't know.
Yeah. It is a classic. Certainly is now.
Yeah.
Right, score then for me for screenplay. Yeah, it's really impressive. Certainly with Natasha's arc, really becoming a fully fledged Avenger by the end of this. I thought was really great. And
Robert Redford's pretty cool as well. I think he kind of gets
yeah.
forgotten in the chaos of it, but he's the bad guy. He's pretty cool, but he's really likable. Yeah. He's like I quite liked him actually. I thought he was like a grandfather or something.
I guess so. But he does frame Nick Fury of, was it that he hired the pirates to nick the plans of the helicarriers to sell lots of money or whatever. That's the thing, like the plot of this, you do have to actually think about what's actually going on in this. It's not brain dead at all like some of these films are. You really have to concentrate a bit, which I quite liked. The whole conspiracy thing on the boat, how Robert Redford tries to frame Nick Fury.
Yeah.
That was really good. So I'm going to go like 8.3, I think. How about you, sir?
Yeah, I'll go 8.
Acting then. The fight between Cap and Batroc was really cool. That backflip he does at the end was really impressive. Yes, from a stunt guy, but still very impressive. But the helmet hair was not good on Chris Evans, I must say. And, like, the lighting didn't help at all. It's like, oh dear, that's not cool.
I love how he kind of taunts, like, calls out Captain America. I didn't come here to fight a shield. He's like, okay, fucking, come on then, you son of a bitch. And he takes him down, like, with...
Yeah. It's like, I don't care about my hair either. Let's go.
Yeah, I'll take off my clothes as well. Take it all off.
Let's fight naked.
Fight naked.
No protection at all.
Yeah. Amazing. Real Beowulf mode.
And the audience just runs for the hills. No!
Except for the women.
Yeah. I like the little scene with Steve talking to Peggy in her bed. Hayley Atwell is really convincing as someone with dementia, especially as she has like loads of dots on her face, and they use CGI to make her look old.
Yeah, it's pretty good for CGI, yeah.
But it's interesting because in the end, in Endgame, when Steve gets old at the end, they use actual makeup and prosthetics. And it looks just as good, so I'm just like, well, why the change there? It's interesting.
Maybe it's due to the fact that she's laying down, so maybe not as much motion from the head.
Maybe
it's just like the eye won't really tell, if she's not moving around or something.
Yeah. Maybe it's just Chris Evans preferred it that way, I don't know.
Yeah,
for the actors,
could be. Yeah.
So it's just an interesting filmmaking point there. Because it's from the same filmmakers. So,
yeah.
But yeah, the fight between the Winter Soldier and Steve Rogers, I think, is my favourite hand-to-hand combat fight in the whole MCU. It feels so brutal and so powerful. The pace is so fast.
Is this the last fight or the second fight?
The one when they get off the bridge, yeah.
I love how it kind of... it goes from he's using all kinds of guns and he's like deflecting, knocking out the gun to a different gun to a different gun to he gets his shield taken from him and then it's hand to hand and the knife to it was just
so
really good. Yeah. I love the bit where he's pushing the knife down so hard it goes in the van and like that.
Yeah,
like that.
And there's a little sound effects. So the arm is taking over, adding more strength to the arm. And there's just like a little cool shot of when the Winter Soldier takes out his knife and he just does a little flip of the knife before he attacks him. That was just really cool. And these are not stunt doubles. It's all, Chris Evans and Sebastian Stan, which just makes the whole thing better. But again, you feel like they've really thought about how the metal arm can be used against the shield. It starts with the big punch to the shield and how would that sound, and it gets stuck in the arm the shield gets stuck in the arm at one stage. That was cool. They've cool. Again, they've really thought about like how can we use the metal arm and the shield in a fight? What could happen? I just feel like they've really given that a lot of thought. Yeah, my favorite fight, just so good. I mean, the fight they have on the heli character is not as good for me, but I think it's just the pacing is a lot slower, But what it does have is emotion. Like Sebastian Stan especially is amazing when he's punching him at the end.
Yeah.
And Cap's just saying, "'Cause I'm with you to the end of the line." And then Stan's face is just amazing as he's suddenly remembering his past. He's like, "What did you just say?
Yeah.
What? Who are you?" He's great there. One of my favourite bits is when Nick Fury arrives at the Triskelion in the helicopter, and he opens the door and just stands there for a moment so his massive leather coat can just flap in the wind, so he can look really badass.
Yeah.
It's just funny. It's like, come on, wind, flap my coat. Yeah. Now walk in.
Exactly, yeah. Gotta have that atmosphere.
It'd be funny if there was no wind. Like, come on, hang on, wait for it. Now go. Yeah,
he just installs a fan just behind him.
He really liked his air conditioning.
Yeah.
So what's your favourite performance?
Samuel Jackson.
Samuel Jackson?
Yeah.
All right.
Just because he's Samuel Jackson.
Silly question to Boaz, really.
Yeah. He could just appear for like 5 seconds in a film. I'd still give it to Samuel Jackson. It's just cool.
I shall check the Black Cinema episode, whether you picked him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, certainly with Scarlett Johansson, I think this is arguably her best performance.
Scarlett Johansson is really good in this. I'm not going to argue with that. I think she displays quite a lot of emotion, and again, I do agree with you. She does go through quite a character arc. I think my favourite performance of hers is when she thinks that Nick Fury is dead. I quite like that.
I think my favourite moment from her is actually near the end, like in this trial situation to the media.
Yeah, that was good.
It's just, you just feel like, what did she say? Like, you may not want us anymore, but we're the best qualified to defend this planet or whatever. And it just feels like, yeah, she's a proper Avenger now. You just feel like her persona a little bit has changed, because at the beginning she has this brilliant like sassiness to her as Black Widow, which we've never really seen before in like Avengers and Iron Man 2. Yeah, I think my favourite performance is Sebastian Stan, actually. I just like just this casual coolness he brings to just his walk, the walk with the Winter Soldier. It's just, It just feels like really epic and just like...
It's much better than your walk that you just tried to do now. That was pretty bad.
Yeah. With my shoulders.
No, don't do that. Yeah. You look like you're trying to do the backstroke. What the hell was that?
But you know what I mean? There's just a really like cool casualness to the Winter Soldier. Just a really nice stillness as well. It's very villainous, and I kind of tend to gravitate to villains sometimes.
I do like as well, like any scene where he's kind of struggling with his identity.
Yeah,
like the first time, like when he was getting brainwashed, he's just completely out of it. I just quite like that. Yeah.
Score for acting for me, I'll probably go, again, considering the stunt work that the actors go through themselves, I think is really impressive. So I'll go like an 8. How about you, sir?
Do you know, one guy I also think is quite interesting to look at is like Rumlow. He's a dick, and he plays that really well. I just thought I'd just give an honourable mention to him. He's like a very, very minor character.
Frank Grillo.
Yeah. I thought he was quite interesting. I'll go. What will I give it? 8.2.
Cool. Right, let's add up the scores then for Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Captain America: The Winter Soldier scores 49.8, which wins this one this week for Scarlett Johansson films, as Lost in Translation only got 48.6, so fairly tight still, I would say. Right, next week, as the amazingly titled Gunpowder Milkshake comes out, we'll be having a look at R-rated action films.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, recently Nobody came out the other day with Bob Odenkirk, which is kind of an R-rated action film as well. So, but yeah, this one will be related to Gunpowder Milkshake. What a title! I mean, come on. Yeah. That's really cool, with Karen Gillan and Lena Headey. Great female cast as well. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see what we pick. A fairly open subject, so could go old as well. Right, that's it then. Thanks, Boaz. You've been rather good, as usual. Bye.
Das Vidania.
That's it for this week's pod. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to find out more about the podcast or suggest future topics for us to discuss related to upcoming releases, let us know on Instagram at Film vs. Film Podcast and on Twitter at FVF_podcast. Remember, please subscribe. Pod signing off.